Do you ever get so discouraged with teaching, you just think to yourself, I am not cut out for this and I need to quit? That's what we're talking about on the podcast today.
Yeah, welcome back to the Teach or Quit podcast.
We're back.
And if you're wondering why we're saying welcome back, it's because we have not been on here for a while.
No.
And for good reason. We've been working on a book. So you'll hear more about that in the future, but we have been taking the curriculum we've been writing and teaching and training women with over several years and turning that into a resource that you'll be able to get your hands on. So if you're a Bible teacher, you think you might be a Bible teacher, you know Bible teachers in your life, this book's for you. We're excited to tell you more about that in the future, but we've been deep in edits.
Yes.
We've been like, we cannot podcast and do this, writing and editing, but we're finally at the end of that journey. At the last stages of editing the words. And we're like, you know what? It's time to bring back Teach Quit podcast.
It's time to go back in the podcast because there's really important things that we keep wanting to say.
That's right.
And the one today that feels so important is discouragement in teaching. Like to the point where it's not just sort of a bad moment. I mean, you are like ready to throw in the towel.
That's right.
And so that's really where we want to go today. And Kelly, you had a great experience recently that really brought this to the surface, that made it feel like a priority as something to address. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was in a lab with our online Teach or Quit class. So we have a class of 12 students every year that goes through our curriculum that's in labs. And I got to be a coach in one of those labs and stayed on with a lot of these women afterward. And several of them voiced such deep and profound discouragement, either in the preparation for teaching, in actually doing it, and questioning and second guessing themselves. If this is it supposed to be this hard, that they had verbalized, I've kind of already started to decide this isn't for me.
Yeah.
That I think I need to quit, that I think this must not be my gifting. It's too hard, or this teaching went so poorly that obviously this is just not my thing. And they are all reaching to press eject. Yes. Get me out. And I remember going, stop. Well, this is teaching. Welcome to teaching. Something Lindsay and I say all the time, which is, this is normal.
It's normal.
So if you're listening to us and you're going, I've been there, I thought it was just me, or I thought I'm just a really bad teacher that I'm dealing with this.
Not one bit.
It's very normal. And so today we're trying to normalize this experience of discouragement in teaching, or even what we sometimes call the valley of despair. Like sometimes we hit that in prep, but even in moments when our teaching just doesn't go very well. Yep. And we kind of face just a profound sense of like, this is harder than I thought, and I want out. And we just want to say, we're talking about this because we think that especially if you actually feel gifted to teach, you need to stay in it because your local church needs you. God has given you something to strengthen the body that you're in, and it's worth it to stay in it. So maybe let's talk about first, like, where does all this discouragement come from, and how does it show up, and what is it related to? Yeah.
My discouragement has come up in a few things. So you had mentioned from the lab, someone going, this is just way harder than I thought it was. That can be coupled with, I actually thought I would be better at this, but usually it comes as like, I thought this would be easier. I thought I would improve in my preparation. I thought I wouldn't feel so confused in my head as I prepare. I felt that. The times that I came up against really natural walls in preparation, meaning it's very hard to organize all my thoughts. It's very hard to distill all my ideas down into one main idea. It's really difficult for me to cut my material. I can't think of an illustration. I don't know how to tell them to apply this. Those are all really normal difficulties in teaching. Very real. But because I'm feeling them as a difficulty, I assumed if I were more spiritual or more gifted as a teacher, those things would be easy. I'm living in this isolation that if I have the gift of teaching, that means I do all these things in like wonderful success, and they're not hard. And that is not true. It's just not true.
Well, you're exposing an expectation we have about something being a gift of ours, that if it's something we're really gifted in, what that will feel like as we're walking in it is that it's not hard, that we're able to do it with very little to no effort, and things just come out seamlessly and perfectly and exactly as planned. But nothing is like that.
No.
But we have kind of this picture, and I wonder sometimes if it's because we're watching other people teach. We're seeing this tiny sliver of their teaching life.
Yeah.
We're seeing the message, which we all know, if you've been teaching, is what? The tip of the iceberg of all the work that you do.
90%
It's
underneath
20
that
to 30
surface.
minute message that represents 30 hours of work.
Yeah.
But we see other people do this, or we see a little clip on social media and we go, look how easy, that looks so easy for her. Like, and then we fill in the blanks in our imagination that she's like at home and studying and just writes a message without any edits, and it just comes out perfectly and flawlessly, and then gets up there and just tells you all the things, and it's just perfectly balanced, and all of the introduction and all of the things, and our experience feels so crazy by comparison and difficult, like climbing a mountain, sweaty and exhausted, and we go, well, something's wrong with me. This is not right.
Must not be for me. Something that changed in my perspective was if I look at Paul and what he describes his life in ministry as, I mean, he despaired to death. And now his life was being threatened with what he was doing. He was constantly near literally dying. But when Paul talks about the use of gifts, he always does it in a way that's dependent on God, with strength that God has to provide. That's Peter. But he even instructs Timothy, like, to take pains with these things, work at this. You're going to have to invest in it. And so whatever narrative I have of gifting equals ease, gift from God equals this goes well for me, that's not really what gets set out in the New Testament. Is a gift by God's grace. But it doesn't mean you don't work at it, because that's not what Paul says. And it doesn't mean that there won't be incredible weakness that you experience. Right? Paul's like, in my weakness, God's power is perfected. So if I think I'm going to walk in total success and satisfaction of my gift, this is going to be great. That's the wrong idea. God is more motivated to be like, I will put weakness in your life on purpose, so that you're going to be dependent, because that's the only way to really have his power, is depending on him. So from not doing well and getting discouraged, I am learning the goal is not I just succeed and feel like it's easy. The goal is dependent and weak. That's actually better.
Right. Those things are good gifts for teaching, and it's a protection for us and for his word, that we would come in very prayerful, eager for his help, asking other people to pray for us. Those things coexist. I'm called to do this, or I'm gifted to do this, and it's really hard for me.
It's really hard.
Those things aren't mutually exclusive.
Nope.
Which, some of the other reasons, we're talking a little bit about one reason that it's hard, and that's this idea of like expectations. Some wrong expectations we have about the teaching journey and what it should look like. But I think just to say out loud what we all know, some of the other reasons it's hard are we're still fighting the same normal enemies that we fight every day of our Christian life. We're fighting against Satan. We do have a real enemy.
Yes. God's
word, and people want to teach it well, has a real enemy. Satan does not want the word taught well. So there's accusations and lies we're battling. There's our own flesh. Like, we don't get a break from that in teaching.
Right.
It's getting exposed, and the invitation to crucify the flesh is just as present in teaching. And that can feel really, I think for some reason that part in particular feels really hard for us as teachers, because you step into these moments of teaching and prep, and something in your flesh gets exposed, a desire to be perfect. Your pride is showing up, your fear of failure, your people pleasing, like even just vanity. Just like, I wanted to weigh less before this event. And we're getting real right now.
Now we're getting very honest.
Just vanity. And that's showing up, and immediately Satan comes in there, that other enemy, and goes, see, you're not equipped to teach. Look at all the sin in you. Like, and those moments that could be opportunities to bring that freshly exposed sin to the Lord and let it be crucified become moments that we begin to think, I must be disqualified because I'm dealing with sin.
Can you tell us a story where that has happened for you? Like, this is all your process of like, let me tell you how it sounded in my head when I was doing this.
How long do we have? How long do we have? I'll get on the therapy couch right now and we'll talk about it.
It's a good couch.
Most of my early teaching journey was fraught with this. I felt freshly exposed in my pride before teaching opportunities ever came, and felt freshly grossed out by pride in me. And so the initial opportunities I had to teach that really felt like they were from the Lord, that really you encouraged me to take seriously, like these seem like they're from the Lord. I just remember going, I don't think there's a way for me to do this and pride not get exposed in my heart. Because and that's kind of human, right? Which one of us doesn't want to knock it out of the park and impress people? It's like, of course I want to do that. And then I'm immediately like, I can't do this. I'm the worst, so I'm I think part of what was happening is I had assumed that to teach well or to be in a healthy place to teach meant I am perfect and totally free from sin. I don't deal with it anymore. I've crucified it all. I got it all together. And now I get to stand up here and teach. And somehow my adequacy for teaching comes from having it all together. And it was really hard to separate, because it feels so noble in your head to say, like, I really should be holy and we should fight for holiness. But at every little moment that pride was exposed in my heart, that desire to do it right in front of the eyes of others, to impress them or whatever it was, that just felt like instant disqualification.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to figure out what to do with that. It felt like this loop that I got stuck in that was hard to get out of until really so that's like, was very normative, very long season.
Yeah.
So that wasn't just one time. It was like a lot of the time. And probably one of the things that helped the most was Jimmy was probably the first person to say it to me. He's like, what if God is giving you teaching opportunities for the express purpose of exposing that in you, of putting a magnifying glass on you in that area to say, that's always been there. We're just going to bring it into the light in a really painful way so that you'll repent. And at each moment it comes up that there's fresh, oh Lord, I'm sorry. I do want so badly to be successful in the eyes of others, and more than I want to in your eyes. And I don't even know how to be free from that. But I hate it and I want to be free, and to still go forward and teach and go, that might be the thing that Jesus is giving me to set me free. Teaching might be. And I really did begin to see it come from that. And then of course, after even that doesn't fully go away, but there've been new layers of vanity has been a big one in the past. That's why I mention it, is just, gosh, so many things.
I want my weight to be different. I want my hair to be different. I'm aging now more. Why do I look like that? Why do I sound like that? Why?
Right. What does that felt like for you? How does that struggle maybe with the flesh, or maybe it's with Satan? How's that showed up in your teaching journey?
So many, like you said. Which one? I'll just try and land in one. Well, one thing that you said that was a big paradigm shift for me was the teaching as sanctification. Because I very much lived a lot in if I can be sanctified enough and I can teach. And for me, the loop with that was, a lot of my story is I wasn't, like, God gave me a no for a long time. And in some ways, yes, it was to work through motives and it was to sanctify things in me. But the wrong thing we do with those seasons is like, well, then if I can help you, Lord, and like get through this sanctification better, then maybe you'll let me do the thing. And so
if I get really holy,
I'll get
then
really
you'll give
holy,
me teaching
then
opportunities.
You'll let me. And it was like, yes and no. It was still a little bit off. But when I finally was teaching, and it was more difficult, and I had to address, like, this is no longer a fantasy, because the fantasy of teaching is always significantly better than the reality.
Yes.
So, like, let the fantasy die. It's got to die. And I had to both see the sin that was still there and that I was teaching. I felt that same, well, great. Like, he tried to do all this sanctification, didn't work. I must need to quit. And it was amazing to see, no, that's actually not it. Can you, Lindsay, teach confessing that sin and coming into the light, depending on God for all the power and all the transformation in people's lives, and still teach? Because this isn't dependent on your performance as a teacher, but it's also like, I'm never going to teach 100% holy or perfect. It's not going to happen in this life ever. So in this life, when you teach, sin will always be present, because once we head into the new heavens, the new earth, or we die first, whatever, no one will need to teach.
That's right.
Everyone will know the Lord. and all sin will be removed. So teaching's always going to be coupled with this personal struggle of our sin nature. And the goal is not to deny, like to fake it and be like, I don't struggle with sin. First John would say I'm a liar. The goal is be in the light.
That's right.
So a new paradigm was teaching as sanctification, not as a reward because of my sanctification. So that was huge for me.
Wait, hold on. Can you say that again?
Yes. Teaching not as a reward for sanctification, but teaching as sanctification.
That's so good.
So that is big and continues to be. So it's like, God is saying, I'm going to address those things in you as you teach, which is why we say teaching is an altar to die on, not a stage for platform.
That's right.
Because there are so many things that will personally come up in you in teaching that other people who teach, they've got their own struggles and they're dealing with them. But teaching will bring up things in you. Yep. It's teaching is exposure therapy. I mean, it is like constant exposure to this thing. You're like, there it is again. But that's not a bad thing.
Right.
Health is, I receive that conviction, Lord, you're right. Gosh, I repent again, even if it's 1,000 times. And I'm going to tell my friend and we're going to come to the light. That's the only way we change.
That's right.
I find in dealing like with accusation from the enemy, one thing that was surprising to me in the fantasy of teaching that was always wonderful, I thought that being paid for something would be fun. It is awful because now
I feel
have a price tag attached to your performance and you're like, am I worth that? And you always go, no, I am not. I should have told them not to pay me now that they are paying me, or if they pay for your travel.
Right.
I was not ready for the amount of insecurity and all that would drum up in me that I'm like, no, I literally have a financial pressure to be awesome.
Yeah.
Because they asked me to be here. I was just not ready for that to throw me for a loop. And then the enemy goes in there and is like, look at you. You fantasized about this for years. Look at what a dummy you are now. Yeah. You can't even handle this. Are you really even worth them paying you for this? They probably should have asked someone else. You're an insecure basket case. Look at all these other things that you struggle with that don't have anything to do with teaching. If anyone knew what really goes inside of you, they'd never ask you to do that. I mean, it just is constantly. For me, that happens more in the build up to teaching than for me after. But the accusation just goes and goes and goes. Yep. And that was for sure before I was teaching more regularly. I was not expecting that the bigger the stage or the even getting paid would throw in this new wrench into my system that was like, and now it's weird. You know, it's like the moment you get to teach in a place where you respect and love the people, and it's not your local church, that feels like home. I love that. But like, now it's weird because now I really respect those people in that room. Yep. And I want to do well for them. And then I'm like, Lord, I'm wanting to do well for them, not you. But all of it is a great opportunity of exposure.
I love that you're just saying all that, because I hope you that are listening are going, me too. Yes. Because it's really normal to deal with that. Yeah. And here's the temptation, right? There's something about teaching that we feel like we have to have it together. Yeah. For whatever reason you feel that. And so while we're spiraling internally, we actually begin to feel like we need to put up a mask. Yeah. When people are like, how's it going? Are you looking forward to this weekend? I know you're teaching, you're like, internally you're like, I'm freaking out. But you tell them, yeah, I'm super excited. It's going to be great. How are you feeling about your message? I feel great. And internally you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And
it's all garbage. That's how I really feel.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the thing that we're just trying to push against and have learned to do together, to go, that's not good for me. Right. As a human, as a follower of Jesus, as a teacher, that's actually not helpful at all. And the exposure therapy of teaching is actually meant to go beyond just your personal moment of exposure before the Lord and go into community. Yes. That the only way that we have been able to bear what we're talking about, the discouragement, the flesh, the battles against the flesh, against the enemy, is through community and confession. Yes. Saying those things out loud. I would say, I think this is true. Probably every single teaching I've ever done has needed confession to come alongside of it. Every one. And because in every one, I have my flesh that's showing up to the party and saying, I want to be awesome and be the best, you know? And I need to say it out loud to someone. And so I'm often saying that to you. Yeah. But I'm trying to get a group of people that I have that I can regularly just reach out to and say, I'm about to teach this weekend, and let me just confess my sin.
Yeah.
Here's the flesh showing up in me that I want Jesus to fully sanctify. And then afterward, when it didn't go how I thought, here's what didn't happen. And I'm struggling to believe that God is going to be able to use the truth I shared because it was messier than I wanted it to be. And I just am not happy as truth was shared. I'm just mad that it didn't get shared in the way I fantasized about how it would go. And I don't like that my heart is doing that. We pray for me. So just trying to normalize that that kind of exposure, living in the light, put the mask down.
Yeah.
Be honest and be known to other people. And if you don't have a rhythm of doing that, it might be hard the first time to find that person to say, but once you get in a rhythm of doing that, it's easier. But confession should be super normal. Like, I need you to share your analogy about confession because it has been so helpful for me.
Well, a lot of times we think of confession like a root canal, like this rare, deep, painful, terrible thing that really, if you can do everything to avoid it, then avoid it. Like if I can try really hard to live in holiness so I don't have to get to confession, that'd be great. If I can brush my teeth so I don't need a root canal, that'd be great. But confession is the brushing your teeth.
That's right.
Confession is part of normal, every day, multiple times a day, health for our souls. Because repentance is the thing that turns us straight to Jesus, away from ourselves, and brings us into the light. Because we actually don't have any natural ability to overcome sin.
That's right.
And so confession is the thing that goes, Lord, there's that thing again. The only reason I know about it is because you showed me. You are the solution. You are the answer. You have paid for it. You have provided everything. God, do the work. That happening regularly every day is a sign of a healthy soul.
That's
so
right.
Healthy dental care is brushing every day. Healthy soul is confession every day.
Every day.
Every day.
And
not to be avoided or like wished away. Like, yes.
And we're here to just say, let's rewrite the script around teaching to say a teacher shouldn't need less confession. It's not like we have or need a different type of righteousness, as if we need to be, a different grade or quality of Christian. That's not true. We just need to be healthy Christians. And a healthy Christian is a confessing Christian, a repenting Christian. And that's often in your teaching what you're inviting people to do. And when you're doing it every day, before and after you teach, it comes off in a really genuine way.
That's right.
And I have sometimes found it helpful. I don't do it every time because I don't think teaching needs to be my personal therapy time. But I've occasionally said that out loud, especially when I'm really struggling and really fighting my flesh. There have been times I've shown up, and some of the first things I say as I introduce myself to a room of women, if they don't know me, is, hey, I know my bio makes me sound like I have it all together, but I just want you to know that I yelled at my kids this morning and I had to apologize to them. And then when I came here, I really just was like, I really want to impress these women. And I had to tell the Lord, I'm really sorry. Yeah. I want to serve them with your word. And so you should just know I'm a normal sinner, just like you, fighting these things. And sometimes just to expose myself even to the room has helped me to push back against my own flesh and against Satan and move past it to go do what teaching really is. I want to serve you. I want to show you the glories I've loved in the word. And I might not do it awesome and amazing, but his word is big enough to carry this moment. Yeah. I don't need to be big enough to carry this moment.
Yeah.
And so you have to say it out loud. We have to do that.
Yeah.
That's part of one of the things that makes teaching hard. So we're just saying, it's normal. Don't press the eject button when you fight your flesh or you fight the enemy. It's not a sign that you've done something terribly wrong, that something has gone wrong.
It arguably means you're doing it right.
That's right. And that the Lord might have invited you into this to set you free from something.
And learn to grow through it, not
That's right.
press the eject button from it, grow through it.
That's right.
We talk about this a lot. I just want to throw this in there. If you're teaching and discouraged and you're like, I don't share this with anyone, there's a lot of comfort that Kelly and I have with each other and other women who teach to confess the particular things about teaching with each other. It's one I can explain something to Kelly. Kelly, I did this, then this came up. And she's like, oh, I know. That happened to me a few weeks ago. Find people like that for sure. But also, I just want to make the case for inviting your friends who do love you and who walk with God, who are not teachers, into that. Yes. Because it's also extremely helpful. It can feel maybe like you might be afraid if I tell them they don't understand. Maybe they'll think I'm being arrogant, because if you're teaching and that's going well, you're going to be like, most people assume this is a dream come true. And in a way it is, but it also comes with a lot of things that are really difficult. So then that might cause you to hesitate to be honest with people who aren't teachers about how hard this is. Just get rid of that, because They love you. They want to help. It's helpful for them to see the back end of teachers, to be like, oh, this is really hard. I didn't think about that for other teachers. This is really difficult. But invite them in to pray for you, to care for you, to love you. They'll celebrate with you. And I have an amazing small group of women, like our home group. And I ask them for prayer because my message isn't coming together. And none of them are teachers. And they don't fully know what that means. But they're like, we trust you that if you're asking for prayer because the message isn't coming together, we will pray. You know, and they do. And I bring them in on me in my life. Like, they really are my support. So even if you're like, none of my friends teach, they may not understand. That's okay. They may not understand. If they love you, if they love Jesus, tell them anyway.
That's right.
And bring them in on it, and they'll pray for you.
And it allows your teaching gift to be strengthened by the other gifts in the body of Christ.
Absolutely.
That those are other women who probably have different strengths and gifts by the Spirit that you actually need for this journey. And so it's really good. It's really good for the whole body for those things to be brought to the light. Okay, so teaching is full of all sorts of discouraging things, which we're trying to navigate. But one of the most discouraging moments is when you have taught something and it goes terribly. It goes terribly. And you know it went terrible. And you're like, I'm done. I don't want to teach ever again. I've been there. I know you've been there.
Yes.
What do we do when it goes terribly? And maybe we can talk about, like, what do we mean by the teaching went terribly? Like, here's one example for me.
Yeah, I was like, tell a story.
One example for me is the moments that I have totally lost my place in my notes.
Yeah.
Fumbled over words. Now, I know they may or may not, the people listening to me may or may not notice that, but when I know I tripped several times verbally, it's like those verbal trip moments of like, oh, that didn't, and that happens throughout the whole message. I will leave going, oh, that went bad. Or I've had whole seasons where I am talking to myself through the whole message. I used to tell people in my life when I was dealing with this that I felt like I was in the movie A Beautiful Mind. If you've ever seen that movie, that there's these imaginary characters that only the one main character can see. And they're just like always there in his periphery and no one else can see them. But he's having to like talk to real people with these other voices talking at him. And I have been on stage teaching. And as the words are coming out of my mouth, it's like, whether it was satanic or who knows what else it was, what I'm hearing instantly is, that was dumb. Why'd you say that way? That's not what you wrote in your notes. And I'm still talking out loud. And I'm having this secondary conversation over here. And it feels exhausting. And I have this one moment where I remember that was happening in such a really intense way. In one of the teachings when we were teaching together at our church, going through a book of the Bible. And I remember walking off stage and thinking, I never want to do that again. And I think that was probably terrible. And I remember you telling me that went great. And I was like, cool. I'm glad that it didn't come off that I was in my head the whole time, but I was in my head the whole time. Yeah. And I hated that. So sometimes it's an internal battle, but there are other times that it actually goes bad.
Yeah, this isn't fair because I'm telling a story that I know you in, and then I'll tell one of mine. But I remember you traveled for a speaking thing, and Nico was with you. Baby Nico was with you, and he's a baby. He had a breathing. If you have a asthma child, you know. He had a breathing emergency in the night.
I was told by my doctor to go by ambulance to the hospital.
In a different city with her baby, and she's got to speak. So you were in an emergency room.
All night.
With your infant all night, making sure he could breathe, and then you had to speak.
I had to speak the next morning.
Because you were contractually obligated to do so. And I remember your phone call after that, and you were in tears, and you're like, all this happened. It did not, the message did not go well. And I was like, well, no wonder. Why would it go well? Look at everything that, and I was trying to encourage you, and I was like, of course it didn't, and there's the additional pressure that they flew you out there.
That's right.
That they paid for you to be there. I just remember you being like, I don't know what else to do. I've got to just call a friend.
Yeah.
And somehow I wanted to fix everything because I'm your friend. I'm like, I want to make everything better. But I just knew that just hearing you, it was just like, I just love you. And I'm sorry this one didn't go well. I could see why it wouldn't. I think that's wildly outside of your control. But, that was really hard.
I always travel with a friend. So I had somebody who was there to help me and just then to be with him when I was speaking. And she went and listened to the recording later, and she was like, Kelly, wasn't that bad? And I was like, I will never listen to that recording. But I did. I fumbled over. I remember I said something, but I said the statement like backward. It's like, wait, no, what I meant was, so I had all of those things from my tired brain.
Yes.
And it was a high school chapel moment where they all had to be there. So they were not an easy crowd. The whole thing, I felt embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like I just remember feeling like shame, like that sense of like, I just want to go hide. And there's nothing. And I think I knew there's nothing I could do, because when he started, his breathing got worse, was actually, I had just put him to bed. I had just sat down with my notes to make my final adjustments in my notes. And that's when it happened. And I literally felt like the Lord was like, I'm not going to let you do those finishing touches. You have something else to do. And it just really didn't go well. Yeah. I mean, and the more you teach, we tell us people, like the more you teach, you actually now get a sense of your own range as a teacher.
Yeah.
You begin to recognize, oh, that was my best. That was really bad. This is in the middle. And you start to get a sense of your range, which is actually a good sign. So if that's happening for you, it's a sign that you're getting enough reps, that you're learning yourself, and you're figuring some things out that work for you. And you're starting to be able to discern that variation. But what we tend to want is every time I teach should be 100% the best, always. And that's just not realistic.
That's not realistic. I played softball, so I can say this. So in baseball and softball, a hitting average is like, how many balls do you hit out of 10? And across the board, if you hit 3 to 4 balls out of 10, you are considered a phenomenal hitter.
Wow.
Anything over that is like, no one's got a 7, just so you know. Like, there's no one even in Major League Baseball that's got a 7. So if I take that analogy, 3 to 4 out of 10 are good. Well, that analogy just helped me go, like, you're not going to knock it out of the park every single time. That's just not, one, it's not reality. And two, it's like, Jesus loves using us in weakness because we are dependent, and because then all the power comes from him. Ultimately, Paul comes to the conclusion, we are jars of clay. We are broken jars of clay, so that the surpassing glory that people experience, they know it's from God and not us.
That's right.
And so arguably, even when you're doing well, not because he's mean, but because he loves us, weakness and difficulty and breathing issues from our children will come into our life, because God so wants us to depend on him and like love him even when teaching's over and into the kingdom, you know, like that's what matters more. When I think about teachings that didn't go well, I had one happen that I traveled for. I struggle more when I'm traveling. That's when I'm picking up on myself. It was like, no matter how much, the more I worked on fine-tuning the message, it got like stickier like dough. And the more I worked with it, the worse it did not get better. It didn't get clearer. It didn't get any better. And every time I looked at it, I was like, how is it getting worse? It's getting worse. And it was like I was talking circles in my head and I could not make headway. And then I had to teach. It did not get better. Like, I like to feel like I've got the path through. I kind of know where I'm headed, and I think I know I want the main idea and emotionally where I want them to land. I don't have any of that. And it was like, well, it's time to talk. Go do it. And I was like, God, I knew it before it happened. This is going to be one of the worst. And I just felt like he was like, yep, sure is. So I remember in the moment going, then how do I do this? How do I jump into this thing knowing, for whatever reason, I keep trying to work on this message and it keeps getting worse. Yeah. I genuinely felt like it was like, then do it. You do it the way you do everything. You do it by faith. And so I got on that stage and I knew it was not going well. I could see people getting lost. I felt a little lost and I was like, oh my goodness. But I was like, I'm doing it by faith. Jesus, I can't. I did my due diligence. I prepared. But it didn't seem to matter. It does matter. But ultimately in that moment, I had to put my faith in Jesus and the Spirit and the power of his word that can do significantly more than I can. And what I can say about that message was it lacked a lot of things, so many things. But I was like, I did it by faith. That's all I can say. Yeah. But I think that helped me change how I assess how do I know if it's gone well or if it's gone bad?
Right.
Because I used to say years ago when you were like, how did it go? And I said all the things I wanted to say in the way I wanted to say them. That was my genuine answer, which you can tell my main value was, can I say all the things I want to say? And I've changed that now. Like my assessment after I teach is different now.
Well, let's talk about that because everybody does self-assessment afterward. It's not a bad thing.
No.
It's not a bad thing to reflect and go, how did it go? And it's not a bad thing to even have thoughts about how you might want to improve in the future. That's good, especially when it's to serve people better.
Yeah.
But I think what we tend to do is, did I say all the things I wanted to say? And did I say them the way I wanted to say them? In my fantasy world of how I imagine this going, did it match up to that? That's generally the way that we are assessing ourselves. But we have a different quiz we now give ourselves and each other to help that moment. And we've done this for many other teachers. So let's walk through that. We have kind of like a 3-question quiz that I think is just helpful to pass on and say, when you're done teaching, you can ask yourself these 3 questions to just land in a healthy place of assessment.
Yeah. Well, the first one I think of is like, did we say, do you do it dependent? Yeah. I just said do it by faith, but that's what I mean. Did you do it dependent on him?
Did you do it by faith? Did you do it dependent? Did you walk in a sense of like, God, I need you here and I'm going to prayerfully walk in dependence? Did you do it dependent? Not how did it go, but did you do the thing dependent?
That's right.
Is your answer yes? Hopefully the answer is yes.
Hopefully, and if the answer is I'm not sure, that probably shows up as prayerlessness.
Yeah.
For sure, if I have been prepping or going into that moment, and I've had moments where delivery, I did great. But if I ask myself that question, Lindsay, did you do it dependent? I go, man, I did that very prayerless. Yeah. And so that's another moment of good exposure that I'm like, Lord, I want to go into this with way more prayer. But dependence very practically looks a lot like prayer.
So that's question 1. Question 2 is, did I say true things?
That's right.
Did I say true things? Right. And hopefully your answer is yes. It might not have been all of the true things in the order you wanted to say them, with the clarity you wanted to say them. Right. But did you say true things from the word? Right. Did you say these true things?
Right.
And if your answer is yes, guess what? God can use that.
Yes.
He uses true things.
I ask myself, did I let this text talk the most?
Yeah.
Did I talk the most, or did I do everything I could so that people could get the most of this word in his word? Because that's what's really powerful. That's what I'm saying. Did I say what is true from this book? Was that the thing I'm holding up and telling you the most?
Right. So did I do it dependent? Did I say true things?
And did I point to Jesus?
Did I point to Jesus?
Did I point to him? Did I show everyone that he's lovely? Did I point to everyone as he's a solution? I'm not a solution. And I may have some practical suggestions, but did I point them to Jesus today? Show that he's beautiful, that he's worth it, that he's glorious, that he's the solution to whatever problem you've got to go to him.
That's right. If you can answer yes to those 3 questions, then we would say give yourself an A+.
You did it! Yes!
An A+. And it's okay to want to improve. But we tend to be so discouraging to in our self-talk post-teaching. And what we need is, you worked really hard. And you might even pass those 3 questions on to a friend, to those friends, and go, will you ask me this when I'm in my spiral of self-criticality and I'm just telling about all these things that went bad? Can you ask me these questions? Did you do it dependent by faith? Did you say the true things? Did you let the text talk? Did you point to Jesus as the solution? And then that person can say, if you said yes to those 3 things, then you did it. Good job.
You did it. Give yourself a pat on the back. Ask your friends to give you a hug after you teach.
That's right.
One of the things that we got to do is, because we've taught in a team together at our church, when we're done teaching, the first thing that happens is we come off the stage and we go to this group of teachers and we just hug each other and we say, you did it.
Yes, it's like running a race.
We need it's coming through at the end of the marathon. So if you're like, I don't have anyone to hug after my teaching, find someone. Yeah. It sounds weird, but we're just going to tell you to do it. Find a friend. Have a friend travel with you, something that you're like, after I teach, can I find you first? Can I just give you a hug? And can you just tell me you did it? And that person will be like, I'm so glad I know how to love you well. Yes.
That's right. Because they don't know how to help you. And you sometimes have to give them that offer of help,
Yeah.
The other thing that has been helpful for me to remember with all teachings, but especially the ones that go bad. And I read this was in a teaching book I read just a couple years ago. But he said, after you teach, he said, this is now the time for forgetting to begin. This is now time for forgetting. And that has been so helpful, because what you tend to do is remember. I'm remembering everything that went badly and everything that went poorly and every sentence I said that was weird, and I'm replaying it in a loop over my head, trying to remember it. It's like, nope, now is the time to forget. I have nothing else I can do now. I'm done. However it went, whether it went how I wanted or how I didn't want, it's over now. And it's just something I get to surrender now. And that could be my pride. I'm surrendering along with it. Lord, I'm really sad about how this one went. And would you help me? But it's time to let it go. It's time to forget it. And you might need a moment to get alone with God and maybe get on your knees and physically have a way to offer him your message notes or something to just say, Lord, I need your help to move on now. Because teaching is a form of obedience. It's a good work set in front of us. But after you teach, there's other good works that are waiting for you to do. That might be children at home that need your love and attention and affection. It might be work responsibilities or house responsibilities, or maybe just the good responsibility of like rest and just, you know, letting yourself recover. And all of that is good to do. And we need to be able to move on from this good work of teaching by letting it go.
Yeah. I've heard you use the language of giving the baton, like handing the baton over to him, because forgetting yes, we're trying to forget, but really what you're doing is it's helpful for me to think of it as if I'm stewing on a message because I'm obsessing about what I didn't do, what's happening in that moment is I think this still depends on me.
That's right.
And it's like, Lindsay, is this mainly your work or is this his work? Then let him do it and trust him with it. Like to forget the message in the best way and literally give the baton to the Lord and say, this is all in your hands now. It always was, but this is all in your hands now. It's another moment to kill that perfectionism. That's like, I've got to get it perfect. I want to get it right because it all rests on me. And if you spin your wheels, if you just struggle and spin your wheels after a message, it's a quest for perfection you're never going to find. And there's a really wonderful thing to be like, it was yours. It is now yours, Lord. And we could go on forever about stories about messages that we thought were mediocre or maybe not our best. And then someone who's like, thank you.
Right.
That was so encouraging. I really needed that. And it's like, well, that's a miracle because I didn't think anyone was getting anything out of that. Like there's too many. He is too wonderful and he is so resourceful and he is so able that if a donkey can talk and rebuke people, and there's so many other stories even scripturally of the least likely people being chosen, like he'll do that with you, and let that be your confidence. He's super confident in his word, in his spirit.
That's right.
He's like, I can do this.
And I can do it with really weak vessels, and I actually prefer it that way.
I would prefer you actually to be walking weak and dependent.
Yes. Which you probably know this verse, but it's just come to mind so much as we've been talking. I think it maybe is a great one to kind of take with you as you leave from this, and even maybe store it away for these moments of discouragement, to remember he doesn't need your strength. He doesn't need you to have it all together. He doesn't need perfect messages to do this, to move in his people through his word. He needs people willing to be sanctified, willing to be a servant to others, to do the hard work of study and present true things to others, and knowing that he can take that and use it. But I love, these are Paul's words in 1 Corinthians chapter 2. And he says, when I came to you, brethren, I did not come with superiority of speech or of wisdom, proclaiming to you the testimony of God. For I determined to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. I was with you in weakness, in fear, in much trembling. My message and my preaching were not in persuasive words of wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, so that your faith would not rest on the wisdom of men, but on the power of God. Yes. Paul's content to be weak. And I think that just sets a really high bar in front of us, like a good bar.
Yes.
That's like, would you be willing to be average and mediocre at this teaching thing so that I can use that to make men and women know that the power of God is where transformation happens, not a great public speaker.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to be with me and with people in your teaching in weakness and in fear and in trembling?
Yeah.
So that their faith might be on God. It's a good question. And it's okay if your answer is no. I only want to do it in strength. It's okay if that's where we start. That's where I start. But then to ask him, Lord, make my heart like this.
Yeah.
And help me be okay with the weaknesses that I come to the table with, because it just makes me more dependent on you. It makes them see that you're really the strength and the power behind any of this truth. And all of us just get to marvel at him and his glory as weak, independent people who are trying to serve each other in with his word and pointing to him. It's like, hold on to those scriptures and just take them with you as much as you can. But more than anything, we just want you to know your discouragement is normal.
Normal.
It's part of teaching. Welcome to teaching.
Welcome. It doesn't mean you're not doing it right.
That's right.
It doesn't mean you're not gifted.
That's right. but you can't do it alone. And so your homework may be from this moment, who are that small handful of people that you really trust and could be honest with? Like find 2 to 4 women that you could just say, hey, I'm feeling discouraged in my teaching, and send them this podcast episode and say, I don't know how to say it, but like what they're talking about, I feel, and let that start a conversation and welcome them into this part of your life so that it can be normal to confess sin, to ask for prayer, that would be a normative part of your journey so that you can keep going, because we want you to keep going in your teaching to serve the people God has put right around you.
That's right. So we're going to learn to boast in our weakness so that his power is perfected, and we'll do it together.
Yes. So we'll be on in the next couple of months with another podcast episode for you. But for now, we would love for you to send this episode to a friend, maybe if you do have teaching friends, you're like, hey, you got to listen to this, and subscribe so that you don't miss any future podcasts. And then if you have the time to leave us a comment or a review, that all really helps this podcast be found by other women who are teaching, who might not even know this is a resource available to them. And so doing things like subscribing, leaving comments, all of that really does help. And so we'd invite you to do that as well. And if you're interested in learning more about our program, about Teach Equip and what we do in training women, the different things that we offer, you can look at the link below in the show notes, but it's just teachequip.com. You can go check out there a lot of the things that might be able to help and support you in your teaching journey. But we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us.